All right, the timer's wound down. Let me go ahead and press stop on that. And I do apologize. I neglected to start the timer after I set the timer. So you may have seen that. So I gave you a couple extra minutes for lunch. Not intentional, but a phone call came in just as I was taking a break, and then I was distracted, and it takes nothing to distract me. So, but hopefully no harm, no foul. You had a chance to, enjoy leisurely lunch and something, some just relaxation and whatever. Anyways, so prior to the break, I've got way too many windows open here. Let me close a few of these. Where's my PowerPoint? Here it is right here. We talked about, basically we kind of stepped ahead into the future, prepared the drawing to plot by inserting the border, and then doing the page setup. We changed the paper size, changed really assigned a printer, chose to print this monochrome to 11 by 17 and so forth. Then created the viewport, scaled the viewport to 3/16 7" equals 1 foot. And sometimes you'll get a mandate. Hey, go ahead and put together a drawing, and here's the scale I want you to use. When that happens, and I've had that happen to me when I used to do fire alarm design around Arlington County, Virginia. The fire marshal there would only accept drawings that were 24 by 36 and 8 scale. So boom, I'm done. I know what scale I'm going to work at. But other times you can sort of just say, okay, here's the border I'm using, here's the floor plan that I'm working on. Let's play with the scale and tailor. That's kind of what you did. You were zooming in, you were zooming out, and you finally found the right scale. And that's a very true to life, true to work experience that you underwent there. Backing up, we formatted some text. We used a cheat sheet that is in the materials area. Is really kind of a watered down set of scales, a half dozen and 8 scales, and we use those to determine what's our preferred text height. Would be either 1/8 inch or 3/32 of an inch, and at the end of the day we came to set our text height to 6 inches in model space, which would, when we print at 3/16 7" equals 1 foot, it will look 3/32 of an inch high, which is a nice height for legibility, but it won't overpower or clutter the drawing. So we created some text, we placed some text, and that's where we are to this point. Questions on anything at all so far? Okay, all right. So take a look at this. I'm going to put the general notes in my drawing, and I'm just going to use the note text. Let's see, where's my drawing? That's my video. Let me get rid of that. Like I said, I got too many windows open. Here we are. I'll go back to GD residential class file. So part of the reason that I created this rectangle was to show me how much room I have to work with in model space. So somewhere to the right, I can put in my general notes. Going to confirm the current text style is notes, and then I'll start my multi-line text tool, multi-line text, and I'm going to create a window, roughly the size I want this paragraph to be. And I'll zoom in a little bit. And once I start the command, my window or my ribbon has changed into just text editing tools. And one of the things I want to do is to open up this little dialog box launcher, this little arrow you see here in the paragraph panel. I'm going to click on this, and this brings up this paragraph panel dialog box. And what is this paragraph dialog box, not paragraph panel? Well, what I'll do is I'm going to enable something called paragraph spacing. And what paragraph spacing allows me to do is to give the appearance of having double spaced paragraphs. So I'll have note A, and then the text that supports it, and then 2 spaces, note B, the text that supports it, and so forth. To use this, I just check paragraph spacing, and the max value you can put in here is 4 inches. 4 and 4. And people will sometimes get upset when I say that, and they'll say, well, how do I know 4 inches is the max? Well, if I put 6 in here and try to OK out of that, it's not going to let me put anything smaller than 1/4 inch, larger than 4 inches. So I'll change that to 4. So it'll look good. It'll look double spaced. So in my paragraph panel, I checked paragraph spacing, went 4 by 4, or 4 inches before, 4 inches after, and now I'll hit OK. And then I'm going to just type general notes. So general notes colon, and then I'll hit enter. And part of the reason I'm doing this is you don't have to do the general notes if you don't want to, but I want you to see you have that paragraph spacing. Where are you? Paragraph spacing and that little oblique arrow, and you have bullets and numbering. So I'm going to go ahead and click bullets and numbering. I'm going to use lettered and then uppercase. There we have it. So those two things are the only new thing here, right? General note, or using the paragraph spacing and the bulleting. Now I'll just type in a few bulleted notes. All, and sometimes I have to initiate. I have to sort of click in my text window. There we go. All walls 3 space 1/2 inch mark. Whenever you type like that, 3 space 1/2 inch mark, AutoCAD will auto stack your fraction, and if you don't like it, you can click the little lightning bolt and unstack it, or change to a diagonal stack if you want to, something like that. So I'll roll the mouse wheel back, and I'm going to click space, thick, I think is what the note was. All walls 3.5 inches thick, period, enter. So now I'm down to B, all windows, can't type today, windows 3 feet - 0 inches wide. Enter. All doors 2 feet - 6 inches wide. All, let me pan up a little bit, doors to be placed with 6 inches, okay, between hinged side of door and near S wall. I'm doing this from memory, so all shelves 12 inches deep, all railings 1 inch wide with 3, there we go, sorry, inch square newel posts, solid shading represents, zoom out a little bit, drawing from exercise number 7, bed room drawing. And that's those general notes. Again, you don't have to put those in there. I just wanted you to know that you have the ability to add paragraph spacing to your paragraphs, to bullet if you need to bullet. One thing you may or may not know is I can open up a Word document like this, getting ready to print with AutoCAD, and I can copy all this text and paste it. I'll just show you. I'll just shut up and show you. I'll Control A, Control C, flip back into AutoCAD, and I'll just make a text window. I probably even have to make a text window. Control V. Yeah, I don't like that. That's going to be an OLE. I'll go multi-line text, 1 click, 2 click, Control V, and I've just pasted it. Now it's always funny how it comes in. The formatting is partially correct and partially incorrect, but I can format that pretty quickly. You saw the change case, and I can change the color and stuff like that. But this would keep me from having to just manually type. You saw I'm kind of a painful typer. Being able to paste a Word document into an AutoCAD multi-line text window, or multi-line text window would be a real time saver for me. So, questions on any of that? I know that was a mouthful. That was basically 9 minutes of me just jawing straight without taking a breath, but questions at all? Okay, I'm going to get rid of that text. And there's some kind of conference going on in the office next to me, and the walls are paper thin, so I apologize for any background chatter you're hearing. Not much I can do about that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of my properties palette. I'm going to hit save to save my drawing. I did want to check one thing. I'm going to double click my text to get back into edit mode. And one thing I wanted to show you on the multi-line text tool is on the spell check panel, your spell check should be highlighted in blue, which indicates it's in its active state. AutoCAD does have an active spell checker, and as long as the spell check is blue, it'll catch any misspellings and underline them. It'll let you know you've made a misspelling or a typo or whatever. So it's pretty handy to have that. But let's say you didn't observe the spell checker or whatever. On the Annotate tab, right? If I go Home, Insert, Annotate, there's a spell check button on the text panel that would allow me to check all the text for spelling, and it looks like this. I'll go check spelling. You could check the entire drawing. I don't recommend it. You know, the title block, the border that we put in earlier, is just full of abbreviations and proper names, and those will get caught by spell check. So I'm going to change this to another option. You could select objects. You can make a window selection, or in this case, I'll do a current space/layout. So just the space that I'm currently in, I'll choose that option, click Start, and if I get spell check complete, that indicates that AutoCAD found no misspellings. Let me force a misspelling here. I'm just missing my text. There it is. I'll just add an extra O into bedroom, and you saw the little underline. So that's an indication that AutoCAD sees a misspelling. But let's say I missed it. I zoom out and I go check spelling, current space/layout, start. So the cool thing is I wanted you to see was it zooms you in to where the misspelled word is, so you can see if you really want to change it or not. In this case, yeah, I do want to change it. I'll change, and now my spell check is complete, and all my text is correct. So I'll say OK, and I'll close, and I'll save, and that's text placement, text formatting, text placement. Questions on any of that? Questions at all? Cool. You guys can hear me, right? I turn my mic back on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. You just never know. I was like, if I jabberjaw on for 15 straight minutes, you're like, hey, are you talking? And I'm like, oh, crap. So, good. Let me go to the PowerPoint. I'll bring the PowerPoint up the second I find it. We're departing day 4, part 1. This sounds worse than it is because we're actually in day 4, part 3. But we did some other things first. Now we're getting into day 4, part 2, dimension formatting, and I know that general content and use is not right, and then dimension placement. So we'll format some dimensions and then we'll place them. And I'm going to zoom out in the book. We'll flip on to page 48, 49. We talk about formatting dimensions, and we've got a little recipe on the right-hand side, or on the odd numbered page, page 49. These are the settings we're going to change in the dimension style formatter. So I'm going to, before I do that, let me paste something into this window. I'll get rid of that because I'm going to, nope, never mind. That's not going to help me. All right, too late. That's right too. Control Z, got it. I pasted into the chat window. I pasted in that text document that I copied earlier. Control C. This starts in the same location as text formatting does. We open up the annotation expansion panel, and we click the second button from the top, which is the dimension style button. So I'll get into AutoCAD, and I got to stop doing it that way because it's just messing me up. I'm going to paste the sort of the recipe, if you will, for our dimension style. Just trying to get that to a good location where you can see it, where I can see it. Yeah, I think that works. All right, so I'm going to expand the annotation panel, and I'll click the second button from the top. That's dimension style, right below. Excuse me, vicious sneeze. Right below your text style button is your dimension style button. Once you get this open, you're going to have an existing, well, you're going to have a couple existing dimension styles. Standard is always there, right, until you delete it, and it's just a placeholder. And it might not look too bad in this drawing because the textile standard has been updated in all our drawings to use that Arial font. Annotative is another placeholder that it responds to changes in your annotative scale. And then dim1 came in when we pasted or we inserted the residential fixtures drawing. So that we could actually use that dimension without having to create one. But it's kind of a good idea to learn how to create one if you have a drawing that doesn't have decent dimension styles already developed. So start by ensuring that the standard text or standard dimension style is highlighted, and then click New. So here's a point of interest to me. Usually I'll have underneath standard, I'll have style overrides, and this time I don't. You may have style overrides in your dimension style manager. We're going to lose those style overrides. Once we create and set a new style current, we lose the overrides. We don't care. We didn't put any effort into creating them. It's just kind of a freaky little scenario when the dialog box comes up and says AutoCAD alert. You know, it might startle you, but don't be startled. So again, selecting standard, selecting new. We'll call this dim, and I want to put the scale in here, but I can't put the whole scale in. So I'm going to type it in dim3_16. Dim 3/16 is the closest, or dim 3_16. Would hopefully alert any other user of this drawing that that's a 3/16 of an inch sensitive, or it's scaled appropriately for 3/16 of an inch. You can click continue when you're ready, and stop me if I'm moving too fast. So when you use this dialog box for the very first time, it starts you off on the leftmost tab, the Lines tab. If you've used this dialog box before, and I have, it picks you up where you left off. If I left off on the Primary Units tab, I probably was on the Primary Units tab. I didn't see which tab I was on, but it wasn't the Lines tab. So I set that really quickly so as not to create any confusion. So the very first time I set up my own dimension style, it was probably in this class as a student, and I saw how much stuff there was on the Lines tab. There's like 7 windows for line type and color. There's check boxes. There's size boxes. There's a lot of stuff here. And I was sort of discouraged. I was like, man, I don't want to have to set all this stuff up. And the fact of the matter is, I don't have to set up all this stuff. I just need to change a few things. And these are really preferences. They're not like part of any given standard. In fact, if you notice on the right-hand side where I have all these values, these are all pretty small. They're all 1/16 of an inch. And we went 1/16 of an inch with this dimension size or dimension style, because if you put all the dimensions in your drawing, it gets very cluttered if they're any bigger than 1/16. Personally, I think in a perfect world that your dimensions would be much closer to your note text, which would be 3/32 of an inch. But in this example, 1/16 is fine for us. So it says the very first thing we change is in the first things we change are in the extension line area. One is extend beyond dim lines, should be 1/16. The extension lines area is the bottom half of this page of the dialog box. It's labeled extension lines. The top part is labeled dimension lines. The extend beyond dim lines is set to 3/16. That's how far the little line extends beyond the dimension line, which is the dimension line, or the dimension line has the dimension value and the arrowhead and so forth. Just click the down arrow twice. That takes your 3/16 of an inch extension line down to 1/16 basically. The next thing is the offset origin should be 1/16, and it already is. And the offset origin is just a tiny gap between the thing being dimensioned and the dimension. There's a rule of thumb in technical drawing, or if two things touch, like if a dimension touches your building, then that dimension is actually part of the building, or it's part of the thing it's touching. So there's a built-in gap to your dimensions to sort of just offset them from the object being dimensioned. So out of all the stuff on this page, I only had to change one. The extend beyond dim lines went to 1/16. And then we'll go to the next tab, the symbols and arrows tab. Symbols and arrows tab. This tab allows me to change or choose the arrow style. In the normal 4-day version of this class, we use the architectural tick, change the first arrowhead to architectural tick, and that changes the second one sympathetically. However, if you're in an engineering role, if you're someone who's doing security engineering or fire alarm engineering, you might keep it at a closed-filled arrowhead. That is more in keeping with an architect or an engineering drawing. If you're more architectural, use the architectural tick. But whichever you use, we're going to change the height of that arrowhead from 3/16 to 1/16. So we'll hit the down arrow twice. And that's it for the symbols and arrows tab. And we'll go to the text tab. For text style, we could use standard. It's been changed to use this Arial font, but let's just change from standard to dims. It's got a nice thin line. Change your height, your text height, from 3/16 to 1/16. So you're probably seeing a pattern here, sort of a recurring theme. What else is the standard text? Text, the style is dims, the height is 1/16. The text alignment that's kind of missing a letter there, or two letters there, aligned with dimension line. That's the bottom right corner of this dialog box, aligned with dimension line. Offset from dim line, if your dimension can't be over the dim line, how far should it be offset? We'll change that to 1/16. This one's a little weird. The very bottom of your dialog box, you have this 3/32 of an inch high value. If you click the arrow once, twice, you don't see 1/16. It just zeroes out. But if you click up once, it puts you at 1/16. However, you could just swipe over it or highlight it and make it, and just type in 1/16 or however you want to do it. And that's it for the text tab. So far so good? Am I going too fast? I know this is kind of tough if you're... Hopefully I'm calling out the positions in the dialog box well enough you don't have to see my screen. When you're ready, we'll go to the Fit tab. The Fit tab kind of governs, fit options, text placement, stuff like that. I'm not going to change anything here except the use overall scale of, and you can see here at step 4 in my little handout or my little OLE, or pasted OLE, fit will use an overall scale of 64, and that comes right from the scale factor cheat sheet. Swipe over that 1.0000 and you should type in 64. Don't try to use the up arrow. It'll take you, I don't even know how long it'll take you. All right, so we go 64 as the use overall scale of. And then our last tab that we need to visit is the primary units tab. We're going to change the primary units from decimal to architectural. And at that point, we can stop. We don't have to mess with anything else. We don't need to show any alternate units. I'll tell you, if you wanted to show alternate units, which would in this case would be metric, millimeters, or centimeters, you could check the box in the upper left corner to show alternate units. You could change your multiplier. Right now it's set for millimeters, but you could change it, 254 for centimeters. I really didn't even know that. I know that 25.4 is millimeters and so forth. The tolerances tab is for anyone who's really making machine parts, and you have dimensions like this drill hole should be 1/256 of an inch plus minus 1/16 or something like that. So really we can stop at the primary units tab and have a nice functional dimension style. Okay, so before I OK out of that, questions on anything? Questions at all? Okay, I'm going to hit OK. Now I didn't have style overrides, so I won't get the AutoCAD alert, but you might have style overrides. Don't freak out if you see an AutoCAD alert. We'll go OK. If you see an AutoCAD alert, just click OK. I think it says setting another style current will discard your style overrides. Continue. You could close your dialog box or OK out of your dialog box, and then you'll be in your Dimension Style Manager dialog box, and then we can close this dialog box. It'll say something like the current dimension style is dim 3/16. Close the dialog box, and we'll save the drawing. We don't want to make sure we don't lose that style if we crash or something like that. So now I'm zooming out. I've got that polyline or that rectangle that sort of surrounds my drawing, so I can see where to keep inside of. I want to keep my dimensions inside of that. There's a couple tools, let's call it a half dozen tools on the Home tab of the ribbon on the Annotation panel. But if you go to the Annotate tab of the ribbon, this is home to all your annotation tools. On the Annotate tab, there's really two tools I'm going to use repeatedly on the Dimension panel. So first of all, Dimension panel is the second panel from the left. And the two tools I'm going to use, one is called Linear. I'm going to use that to start, or I'll use that first for all my dimensions. And then the next one is 2 positions away to the right. This is called Continue. I'll use that second. It's supposed to be a 2. And here's how it looks. I'm going to hit Escape. And let me do a couple of these. You watch as I do a couple of these, and then you'll get a pretty clear idea. Ensuring that Object Snap is on. I'll left-click Linear, and then I'll left-click the upper left corner of Bedroom 3, left-click the midpoint of the first window in the row, and I'll just move my mouse out to the left till I'm roughly 1 foot away. I'm eyeballing 1 foot. I'll left-click, and I've placed that first dimension. Now, the next tool I use immediately after Linear is Continue. I click Continue, it picks right up where I left off, and then I'll go next midpoint, not the one I just already hit, but the next midpoint, next midpoint, next midpoint, next midpoint, next midpoint, and then finally the end point of the wall, left-click and Escape. And that's my first string of dimensions. So it's Linear, then Continue. Linear first, then Continue. Try that.
Can you go explain that again real quick?
Yeah, I'll explain it slow. I don't care. Let me get rid of this stuff. Just how to place the dimensions, right?
Yeah, the Linear and a Continue. Mm-hmm.
So I like this. Honestly, you could use Linear for all your dimensions, but it's more work than you should have to do. So I'm going to start with Linear first. I'll go Linear. I'll left-click my first extension line location. That's going to be the upper left corner of Bedroom 3. Then I'll left-click the midpoint of that first window, left-click, and then I'll sort of pull to the left, and I'll make a third left-click, and I'm going to eyeball about a foot away from the drawing, left-click right there. So there's my first one. So try that. Go ahead and place your first one with Linear.
Okay.
And after you've placed the first one, then click Continue, Continue, and it picks right up where you last clicked. So don't click the same location again. Go to the next window, midpoint, pan, next window, midpoint, pan, next window, midpoint, next window, midpoint. You probably see the pattern. and so it just allows you to continue along in a straight line, if you will. And when you're done, you can hit escape.
How do you get it to stop at the midpoint?
Make sure you have your midpoint object snap on. See if that's on. Sort of bring up that.
Midpoint object snap is on. Okay.
So was it on before?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me erase some stuff here. Make sure. So what I'm doing is I'm starting to come out of a linear. I'll left click right on the endpoint of the wall. I'm hovering right over the midpoint of the window. Left click. Then I pull out and I put the dimension, about a foot away. Again, I'm eyeballing that. Then when I click continue, I'm sort of back down over the floor plan. There's my crosshairs are right over the midpoint. The dimension is still a foot away, but I'm coming over and hovering over the midpoint of the window. See if that helps.
Huh.
Let me take a look at it.
I go back. So hit linear.
Yeah. There you go. There's your midpoint. Left click. And just pull to the left. And then left click. So it slammed your 4 feet way down there. Why the heck did it do that? Let's take a look at the style. If you go back to, you see the little on your dimension panel, the little arrow in the bottom right corner of the panel?
Dimension.
So where you pulled linear from, that linear tool, the linear dimension tool, that's your dimension panel. So come all the way to the bottom right corner, there's a little funny arrow there. That's the one. And click on that, and then you've got your dimension style highlighted. Go ahead and click modify. And let's see. You look good here. Let's check your text tab. Oh, that looks good there. Take a look at your fit tab. There it is. Uncheck place text manually. And then you can hit OK and close. And then delete that first dimension. If you undo, you just undid the dimension change you made there.
Okay.
Yeah, so go back into your dimension style dialog box. And then modify. There you go. And we'll try linear again.
Linear.
So endpoint, midpoint. Good, and just pull to the left and left click. Perfect. Then click continue and then go right to the next window and midpoint. Like put your crosshairs right on the window. Perfect. And left click and just keep doing that all the way down until you get to the end, and then you can hit escape. Nice. And then you can hit escape. Good job. You punch out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
it's not intuitive, right? But it's not hard. That's the sort of running theme there. And then you can do a second dimension. If I go linear, I'll left click the top left corner, left click the bottom left corner, and I'll just go beyond that first dimension to try to do like a 1 foot away, and then left click. So that takes care of the left side, the left exterior, if you will. Then I'll go do the top exterior, starting with linear. I'll go linear, left click, I'll pull up the screen, left click, and then continue. Next window midpoint, end point of the wall, escape. All right, and then I'll do an overall. I'll go linear, left click the upper left corner, left click the upper right corner, move up and left click. The right side of bedroom 3 is a little bit tricky. If we mimic what they did, if we pull that dimension all the way out, it sort of looks like linear, left click the end point, left click the midpoint, and sort of just move all the way to the end of the wall past master bedroom, and left click about a foot beyond that last dimension. Then continue
Can you do that again, the horizontal or
Yep.
that window one?
Yeah, I kind of zoomed in here, and I'll go linear, left click the end point of the wall, midpoint of the window, and I'll just sort of move, sort of zooming backward and then just moving all the way to the right. And I'm eyeballing about 1 foot past that last dimension or past the wall, and then left click. How'd that work? Did it help?
Yes.
Okay. Then it continues the same thing. I'll just go continue, and I'll just go right to the next endpoint, next midpoint, 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 endpoint, escape. And then I'll zoom in and do another string. I'll go linear, left click the top corner of bedroom 3, the corner behind the stairs, pull to the right, and left click, about a foot beyond.
I missed that one too. Can you do that again?
Yep. So I'll just go, I'm using the same tool, linear. I'll go linear, I'll go left click this endpoint, left click that endpoint, sort of that whole 4'6" wall. I don't know how better to say that, but I'll
Gotcha.
and pull to the right and then left click. Smack my funny bone over here. It's going crazy on me. And then I'll just restart the continue tool, pick up where I left off, continue. And go right to the bottom of master bedroom and escape. And then I'll repeat the process on the bottom. Left click linear, endpoint of the wall, midpoint of the window, eyeball about a foot away, continue. So this linear tool is pretty handy. I mean, it can handle any horizontal or vertical application. It doesn't do well with angles, like 45 degrees or whatever. So those outside dimensions are really measuring so outside corner to the midpoints of windows or outside corners to outside corners. If you choose to do your inside dimensions, those are all wall face to wall face. And I know I've got some stuff in my own way. I can move it. Like I'll move bedroom 2 text. I'll select this and just arrow key it over. Control arrow key. It won't be centered, but it'll be out of the way. And then I'll just start my first dimension with linear. Most of these dimensions are linear or continue. I'll go linear, left click inside corner of bedroom 3, top inside corner, then the bottom inside corner, and I'll pull that dimension to roughly the midpoint of the door, and left click. And then I'll just continue. It's going to leave behind 3.5 inch dimensions, but I can just delete those afterwards. We'll continue, face of the wall, face of the next wall, endpoint of the wet wall in the hall bathroom, the hall bathroom back wall and closet, bedroom 3 closet, and so forth. Yeah, put a linear dimension horizontally through bedroom 3. I'll do the same thing going horizontally through the building. I'll start at the left inside wall of the bedroom 3 closet, and I'll just go through, I'll just hit every wall face. Go linear, left click, just gotta find a place, these things will start, the dimensions will start to get in each other's way after a while. Then continue. They do it. Oh, right. Might run one through bedroom 2, through the closet, and through the master bath. It's kind of winging it at this point. So far, so good. Questions on anything? There's another spot to run through here.
My measurements are overlapping. Is that?
Let's see. I'm going to take a look at your drawing.
I think I've done too many.
It's easy to do in this drawing. Let's see what you got.
Like over here is
Oh, yeah.
a mess.
Yeah, well, so take a look at this. Here's a tool. And Sean, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Taylor, if you type QS and choose Quick Select from this menu. So this is going to allow you to build a little search. I don't know how to say this, but it's going to allow you to search some specific things. We're going to apply this to the entire drawing. Change your object type from multiple to rotated dimension. click in the property window, like click on layer, and type the letter M. Good. So we want to look for the measurement equals, type in 3.5, and then hit enter. Or hit OK. So what that did, it just captured all those 3.5-inch dimensions, and you can hit delete, and it'll get rid of those. So that kind of simplified it a little bit. But still, there's a couple, like that whole dimension that's coming through bedroom 2, that one could probably be, you could take that one away, actually, because you see you've got the dimension up top that goes through. It's almost the same thing. But it's just, well, that one could, yeah, I would take that away. See, yeah, click on that, and then the 3'4", you could kind of take that away. I see what you did there, though, but it's just a matter of practice. That's all it is. It looks like you're getting it, though. Let's see how they did it. I'm going to change presenters here. I'm not going to look at my screen. I guess they is me in this case. I'm going to get rid of a couple things. There's some clutter in here. So the interior ones, they're going wall face to wall face. So from the from bedroom 3, it went from the inside the closet, then to the line outside of the closet, the 2 lines that make up the right side of bedroom 3, and all they're doing is just going wall face to wall face. But you're right, even if you didn't put them all in there, there's a lot of dimensions in here. It does get very cluttered. So that spot where the linen closet is, it's a tricky spot. But see, I've got the same thing you had. I've got all these extra dimensions. They look almost like insects. There's so many of them. So I'll do the exact same thing as you. I'll do QS. There's actually a button for that on the utilities panel. Upper right corner is that Q select or quick select. I'll click on that, and I'll do the entire drawing. Object type is rotated dimension. The property is M for measurement equals 3.5, and then I've got a bunch of these things. I'll hit delete, and there's like 16 little pieces of dimension that I got out of the way. Take a look at this. Now, if I'm going to turn ortho. Ortho is on. Here I've got dimensions going through each other. I'll left click on this 8'3", and then I'll grab the blue grip in the middle. Left click, I'll move to the left. Kind of neaten that up a little bit. Where do I probably have that happening again right here. So here's this 7'1.5" dimension. I'll left click on this, pull it down the screen. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that with a whole drawing worth of dimensions. Oh, here's another one, 3'6". I'll grab this guy, move this left, grab the 6 foot, move it up. And it just takes a little bit of practice to kind of get it. I wouldn't even say that's especially neat, because I worked with an engineer who would lose his mind if he saw me cross dimensions like this. So, I mean, sometimes you just can't help it. The dimension for the stairs, there's 2 dimensions. One is a linear 6'6", then a 2'8.5". That's just the linear dimension, continue dimension. I'll go linear, left click one endpoint, left click the endpoint of the stair. And this is very crowded in here. There's a lot of line work in here. All right, left click, and then I'll go back to my annotate tab, continue. There's my 2'8.5", and escape. Almost all these dimensions are placed with linear and then continue, except for the 2 that measure the radius of the stairs. That is a radius tool, and it's found by opening up the little drop down next to linear. If I open up this linear tool on the annotate tab on the dimension panel, there's a radius tool. It's a little hard to use, it's a little tricky to use. I'll go radius, left click the edge of the arc, and I'll try to pull it back so it kind of points towards the midpoint or the center of that circle or center of that arc. I'm never awesome with that, but I'll do it again. Radius, left click the larger arc, pull it backward, and left click when I get right there. So that's a way to show the radius of your stairs, your arcs, your stair arcs. What else do I have? It's a mess. There's a few of them in there. Not a bad time to save. questions at all on dimensioning? Yeah, there's always a little bit of cleanup to do. Well, with this drawing anyways, there's, oh, I missed, there's that 13-foot dimension. Where are you, linear? There. That's probably not the only one I'm missing. This 2'9" is blocked by the door. There's not a lot I can do about that. Here, I could have pulled it backward further, I guess. I can always move my text around a little bit. Just try to get it centered. It's never quite right. All right. Where's a good place where I can show you this? I'm going to pull one of these dimensions down, kind of like that. And I mean, here's a good place too. Like, there's so many dimensions in this drawing. It's just it can be a mess. It's not just yours, Taylor. So I'm just moving a few dimensions around. I'm just clicking on the dimension, grabbing the grip on the dimension value and moving it laterally along the dimension. And then there's a tool they provided some years ago. It's called break, dim break. It allows you to break a dimension over another dimension. And I don't even know if there's a convention that calls for that, but here's how it works. I'll go ahead and click dim break, just to the right of the name of the style, dim 3_16, and I'll click the horizontal dimension, then the vertical, and it broke the first one I clicked. It broke the horizontal. Let me find another place. That's not a good place. There's not enough room to do it there, but here there is in the master bedroom. Dim break, left click the horizontal, left click the vertical, and it just breaks that dimension. And those are probably best places to. Oh, I got to pull this 7'4" out of the bathtub. Left click on it, left click, and move the grip to the left, like that. And that's about it. That's about it for dimensioning. Questions on anything? All right. Know this. You can change the value in your dimension if it's not quite right. Like, let's say this 13-foot, 8.5 dimension was supposed to be 13 feet, and I just couldn't find that extra half an inch. Or where's it coming from? I could double left click on my dimension, click, and I'll just sort of. How do I get active into it? I'm just trying not to delete the whole thing. Sometimes it deletes the whole thing. So I'll not save that. I'll use the property palette to do this. Left click the dimension, right click and go to properties. Under text, there's a text override. And I'll just left click here. I'll type 13 feet. Oops, I butchered that. Oh, that's all right. 13 feet hyphen 8 inches, enter. So now I've just fixed that, dimension. If I can't find where that extra half inch is coming from, I don't have to worry too much about it. I've just corrected the value. I know some people are really disgusted when I do that, but sometimes you just gotta look. I've got to get back to my other jobs or whatever I've got to get to. another aspect of this project. So we just sort of fine tune the dimension, and if time exists later on, we'll track down that 1/2 inch or whatever it is. Here's another place I can break. I'll go break, click the horizontal, click the vertical. With that break, there's no rule. You always break the horizontal. I'm just breaking I'm trying to be consistent. So where I've broken the horizontal in one place, I'm trying to always break the horizontal. Or if I broke the vertical, I'd want to continue to break the vertical and so forth. So that rectangle hopefully was able to help keep you neat. It might seem a little silly to you at this juncture, but when folks are new to dimensioning, sometimes they'll dimension sort of left click, and they'll just pull, maybe too far out. In this case, I mean, I've seen both of your drawings, and I don't think that was a problem. But so you could keep that rectangle, or you could delete that rectangle. It doesn't matter which at this point. The drawing is done. If I were gonna keep it, I'd put it on a non-plotting layer, so it's not adding additional line work to my drawing. If I go home and I look at the layer manager, the GNO view layer is non-plotting. It's got a little don't do it symbol on the printer plotter. So if I select that rectangle and open up my layer control window, I'll find GNO view, select that, and then I'll just hit escape. And now if I go to layout space, I'll left click layout 1, and I go to print this, you can definitely see that rectangle in my preview. If I click print and I do a print preview, it doesn't show up. So that layer was set to be non-plotting. You can still see it on screen. You can even still see it in layout space, but when you go to print, you won't see it. So that's a way to keep your drawing neater. Maybe that ship has sailed because there's so many dimensions on this drawing, but let me cancel that. Okay. Questions on anything from dimensioning to text? Do you need more time for dimensioning or text and more time for general notes if you're going to do them, or anything at all? All right, let's move forward. Just a couple quick topics left, and we can wrap things up. Let's take a look at we've day 4, part 2, dimension formatting, dimension placement. Then day 4, part 3, preparing the plot. And that should not say general content and use. It should say page setup. I would imagine is what that was supposed to say, page setup. So we'd gone into the page setup manager. We configured our page setup using this little step-by-step here. And I'm going to upload this to the materials area. I'll just do a save to the, I don't want to save there. I want to do a save as file. Save as in my GD student file. Is it already there? Okay, now, and then I'll upload it to the materials area. You may or may not want to use this, but it's helpful to have a little bit of a guideline as to what to do when you're printing or plotting or what have you. This is being really slow. Add material from computer. Select a file. Where are you? There you go. And it's there. It's good. Okay, so let me thaw my screen. And just in case you want to use that, so this is kind of a nice thing to have when you're setting up your first few AutoCAD drawings, getting ready to plot and so forth. I've kind of created a version of this. If I can get to it, let's see how fast I can get to this without anything weird happening. Something weird's happening. Very weird. Just a second. Am I in? I'm not. I'm in in Outlook. That's Outlook. Just a second. So I'm going to pull this onto my screen so you can see this. This is my channel. There's a couple of videos that are going to go away here. I'm in the process of selling a house out on the Eastern Shore, and then the new buyers asked me to do some videos like how to program the locks and how to program the thermostat. Those will be gone, what's today's date? Within the next 10 days. But what I want to show you is, where are you? Right here, this one with the 3, this video. This is YouTube, and I created a video that sort of walked through the steps of getting your drawing ready to print. It's almost the exact same drawing we've been working on, except the one that has the sort of what would you say it, the octagonal bedroom area. So just know that if you ever have doubts about setting up your drawing to plot, you can check out YouTube. I mean, you can start with me. You can call me up and say, hey, walk me through this again. But you can also go to YouTube, and there's, I had one student ask me to go through how to do the stair command, how to use the array command for stairs, some of the modify commands, and then I'm also uploading the last 2 days of class for Nick, and I'm going to try to create a playlist for that so it'll be sort of centralized. So you have to go through, how to set up my lock or whatever, like that stupid stuff. So just kind of be aware of that. I don't know if either of you use YouTube, for educational purposes, but it's a great resource. So questions on page setup, getting ready to plot, creating and scaling viewports, questions at all? Okay, let's take a look at plotting and templates, our last 2 topics. So plotting doesn't take any time at all. Once you've gotten your drawing to the point where we have it, I'm going to get rid of my class file for viewing and plotting. I'll just get rid of that. That's served its purpose for me. Here's the drawing that I've been working on, GD residential class file, and I'm going to rename the layout tab. The layout tab currently is layout 1. We're going to output this to PDF, and when you output to PDF, the PDF will name itself after the drawing file and after the layout tab, right? So a GD residential class file layout 1 is not very descriptive. If I right click over layout 1, I can choose rename, and I'm going to put in something hopefully more descriptive, like second, I'll capitalize this, second floor plan, something like that, just so anyone who sees this file in a folder, not in its open state, they know what they're going to see when they open it up. Then I don't need layout 2. Layout 2 is not set up. I mean, I could set it up later on, but for now what I'll do is I'll just right click over layout 2 and delete it. Say OK. Sometimes when you're plotting and AutoCAD sees that I have 2 or 4 or 6 drawings open, or one drawing that has multiple layouts, when I go to click print or plot, and I think I've disabled this dialog box, but you might see it on your computer, AutoCAD will say, I see you have multiple layouts, do you want to batch plot them or whatever? And it's not a big deal. It's just kind of a time. It's just kind of a speed bump, and I just want to avoid that. So I'll dismiss this, and with that name change, second floor plan, I'll save the drawing. It's never a bad time to save your drawing. Saving your drawing before you get ready to print is a good idea, because when you're printing, your AutoCAD is starting to talk to other drivers on the machine, and once in a while you'll have one print driver that doesn't agree or doesn't play well with your AutoCAD, and you might lock up or crash or lose some data. So hitting save just allows you to sort of get ahead of that data loss. Then I'm going to flip into page 50, I'll kind of flip through these slowly. So on page 48, 49 was dimension setup, dimension formatting. Page 50 was page setup, and then we have sort of some of the finer points of getting your page setup ready on page 52. Excuse me, 51. Sorry about that. Then on page 52 and 53, we have your viewport configuration, how you use the rectangular button to create the viewport, open the viewport, and scaled it to whatever fit, and we kind of hunted and pecked, but it came out to 3/16. And then finally, page 54 is plotting. So once you've gone through the trouble of setting up your page setup, plotting is a very easy venture. We're just going to click the little print or plot icon on the quick access toolbar, and that will bring up the dialog box that we see over on page 55. So I'll come back into Autocad, and I'm going to click the little print icon. For me, it's just to the left of the undo button. I'll click print, and it brings up this dialog box. And this dialog box, if you recall from our time before lunch, this is almost a carbon copy of the page setup dialog box. There's just two differences, really. One, there's no checkbox to display your plot style table. That's in the page setup dialog box. So if you change your page setup, you may not see the change reflected in the drawing. And there's this apply to layout button. This does not exist in the page setup dialog box. This is pretty handy if in the event the printer that I'm printing to, and this is a PDF printer, but if I had a real ink and paper printer I was printing to, and the printer I was printing to for the first 3 weeks of this drawing's life all of a sudden broke, and IT goes out and buys a new one, it's a rare occasion they're able to find the exact same printer. So here I could just say, open up my list of printers, choose that new printer. Once I make the change, the apply to layout button goes active. I click apply to layout, and then I don't have to keep doing that. I don't have to keep changing the plot or printer or whatever. But in this case, I don't need to do that. I'm just going to print to my PDF. Bottom left corner of the dialog box, I'll click preview, and you can preview yours too. And if you'd like the preview, even if you don't, we have to exit the preview. But let's say I like the preview. I'm going to exit the preview. In the upper, not quite the upper left corner, is an X that says close preview window. Hitting the escape button one time would get you out of it as well. And then I like the preview. I'm going to hit OK to print this or plot this. I'll hit OK. Now, because I'm plotting to PDF or printing to PDF, it asks me, what do I want to call this and where do I want to save it? I'm going to put this in my GD class, GD student files folder, and I'm going to name this GD residential class file second floor plan. I don't need to change that. If I needed to, I could, but I'm not going to. And I'll hit save. And it's pretty quick. It's a pretty small drawing, but whatever PDF viewer you have on your drawing, it should automatically open to show you the PDF once you've completed the print. How did that work? Did it give you any troubles? Okay. All right. One of them, I'm going to minimize my PDF viewer here, or I'll just bring up Autocad because I'm not sure which one. I don't want to minimize the wrong thing. If you are printing to an actual paper plotter, you of course wouldn't see what you just saw there, where you saw the print preview come up or the finished plot come up. But you will hopefully see this in the bottom right corner. There's this little plot and publish job complete, no errors or warnings found, and that's a good thing. All right. If there were errors or warnings found at the base of the bubble that this bubble is pointing to, you could right click over it and view the plotted file or view the plotted plot and publish details. I've looked at these. They don't tell you a whole lot, but if I click on this, it's, hey, job plotted, it was called this in general, settings and whatever. But sometimes it'll tell you that, the plot failed because driver was something, or who knows what, the file was too large or something. Okay, questions at all? I'm gonna save that. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had to step away really quickly. I'm having trouble with saving mine. It's showing that whole picture again.
The whole picture. Let me take a look at. I'm gonna take a look at your screen. Yeah. Okay. So show me when you're ready.
Does this when I preview?
I got you. Let's exit the preview. And then let's cancel this. Just hit the word cancel, the cancel button. And you could have printed that. You can absolutely print from, we're in model space right now, but if you click on layout 1 or layout 2.
Okay.
There you go. And then if you want, you can right click over the layout 1 tab. And from the right click menu, you could rename it if you wanted to. Nice. Then you can hit save, not a bad time to hit save, and then hit your plot button to see how that looks. The print. Not far from the save button on the same toolbar up top there. It looks like a toaster with a Pop-Tart coming out of it. One more to the, it's not very printer, right to the left of your undo button. There you go.
Oh.
Right, it doesn't, so see this where it says, this is what I was talking about earlier. If you wanted to, you could have deleted the Layout 2 tab. You don't have to. But right now, AutoCAD sees you've got 2 drawings open. Each drawing could have as many as, well, it could have many, many layout tabs. You're probably going to want to just continue to plot a single sheet. But if you never wanted to see this dialog box again, you could check the bottom left corner, and it would never give you it would never do that again. But it's just trying to save you some time. So you can click continue. You can check your preview, see how you like it.
Okay, great.
That looks nice. Good, and you can hit the same little X on the left side to come out of the preview, and then hit OK. And just just trying to save this in your My Documents. Oh, nice. Okay. Your My Documents folder was very neat. Mine's a little cluttered.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Cool. So no problems at all. Oh, do you see this? If you minimize your drawing again, or minimize your PDF, do you see where your address says 43 National Business Parkway? See how it runs into the other address? So you could edit that if you wanted to. If you double click on that, double left click on that address. And you could abbreviate Parkway if you wanted to. I don't know if do they abbreviate business, like bus?
Well, we usually do this, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
So in the absence of that, say you were just barely, over the line, double click on that one more time, 430. And then see on the text options tab, right there, there's a width factor. The width factor is actually set to a little more than 1, but you could change it to something like 0.9 or 0.8 or whatever. In this scenario, you don't really need to, but if you were just a little crowded for room, you can. So that's what's really cool about a PDF, is that it has some flexibility to it. It's not entirely easy to see all the time, but this dialog box is pretty handy, and so you're good. And if you want to, you can OK out of that. You can reprint your drawing, overwrite the one that was there before. I think you can overwrite it if you're out of the viewer. So that's printing to a web page?
That's their PDF show in general.
Looks like your Chrome. You're printing to
Yeah.
Chrome almost.
I've noticed that with everything that I do to PDF, so I can do it again. Yeah, it's PDF.
So that just must be your. Just the way it's set up. Your PDF is Chrome or something, but it's saved. It's saved to your. I can see your C users. Blah 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 blah. So it's probably just a cheaper viewer. I mean, I don't mean in a bad way. I mean like less expensive. Software and everything is very expensive. That's cool. I've never seen that. Sorry to be distracted.
No, it's fine.
All right. Let me pull this back. I'm a professional, so I forgot to edit my name. So just know this, right? This is an example. You don't have to do this. If I'm in model space and I want to print something, I got to get to a meeting. The three of us are going to have a meeting, and I'm running behind. I got to print something. We're talking about bedroom 3. I'll go, okay, I'm going to go to bedroom. I'll click on my plot dialog box or my plot button, print button. Instead of having display, again, I'll change to window. I'll do 1 left click, 2 left click. I'm making a window around my drawing. Here it's going to be 8.5 by 11. It's paper size. I'll just get back to my PDF viewer, and it's going to try to make it full color. But if I go back to monochrome, I'll say yes. And where the plot scale, it's already scaled itself down automatically. It's going to fit that to paper. So I'll do a preview. So here's the preview for model space. Then I'll hit the X, and I'll hit OK. It's like, hey, where do you want to save this? When you want to call it, it's going to save it to the same folders before, but now it's GD residential class file model. I'll click save, and now we can sort of make notes over this thing. So you don't always have to print from layout space. This is just it's a little bit more polished, a little more finished looking, that's all. Back to AutoCAD. Okay, questions on anything? Printing, plotting, saving, updating. All right, let's do one more topic. Where are you? Page 56, 57, templates. This is a pretty good topic. This is something I never took advantage of when I was in production, when I was doing drawings for an engineering firm. And it's saving a drawing or saving your drawing as a template. And where this happens, this graphic is a little mixed up. It says application menu print. It's actually application menu save as. So I'll show this to you in AutoCAD. So what I would probably do is I'd probably take out the floor plan and I would edit out all the data in my border. I'm not going to do that, but if I just double click on class file, I'm just missing it. There we go. Here I could just like put hash marks or X's or whatever. I could just just take out anything project specific, erase the floor plan. When I've cleaned this thing up, I don't want to hit save because I'm in my project drawing. What I'll hit is from the application menu. Application menu, I'll hover over save as, and then I'll choose drawing template. All right, so application menu, save as, drawing template. And what this does is it takes you to the folder where your templates are, and you could give this template a name like General Dynamics template or GD template or whatever makes sense. Or like for me, like when I worked for an engineering firm, I worked for several different clients. There were architects, so I could have like a Smith Group template, I could have a AI template, and so on and so forth. That way I was using my client's standards and they weren't having to correct my drawing. But so once you've given it a name, you can click save, and then it brings up this template options dialog box. Here you can describe it like this is a template. I can type for new drawings, uses or prints. Let's say I prints to 11x 17 PDF or something like that. Something that is just, again, the description is not really for me, it's for anybody who I might share this template with. And when I'm done, I can just hit OK. Once I do hit OK, I'm no longer in my project drawing. I'm now in my template drawing. So that the project drawing is now safe. Although this is basically a carbon copy of it. I won't, any changes I make. The template is a DWT file, where the drawing is a DWG file, and they're made to be two different file types because Autodesk wants us to have a hard time overwriting our templates. Templates can be repositories of very vital data, reusable data, and we wouldn't want to sort of alter that data, and then the next project, our template is not what it was before. So you have to really go out of your way to overwrite a template. It's not hard to overwrite a drawing. What was I going to show you? Oh, I guess just this. When I click New next, I'll go New. And this time I'll use a template. Instead of using Start from Scratch or the wizard, I'll click Template, and somewhere down here, there's General Dynamics Template.dwt. This is a template for new drawings, prints to PDF or 11 by 17 PDF, and then I can hit OK. Boom. I'll be in a drawing called Drawing 1 or Drawing 2, and again, imagine I deleted the floor plan. I could do a Save As, and then this template will have, you know, the proper units, architectural units. It's going to have the right drawing limits for a building of, you know, my average size, in this case 50 feet square. The layers are already here. It's going to have a lot of blocks like window, door, all my plumbing fixtures, the text styles, the dimension styles, the print settings. So this would be a huge time saver, being able to start from a template like this as opposed to starting from scratch like we did last week sometime. All right, questions on that? Okay, that was my last topic. Questions on anything at all? All right, let me do this. I'm going to send you a course ID through the chat window. Let me know if you can get it. I'm going to close out of that, and I'm going to open up my NetSuite. Oh, it's all whacked out now. Why is it like that? Okay, I fixed it. So this course ID, there's a little document on setting up an account that Nikisha may have sent to you or maybe have been in your class materials. Did you see that where you set up an account, an Autodesk account for the student evaluation?
I have no idea, actually.
Okay. So in the materials area, if you look in the materials area, there's something that says instructions for creating an Autodesk profile account. And it's through that account where you can give a critique of this class and say, hey, the go-to training was awesome, or the go-to training was laggy, or the instructor was hard to understand, or, you know, or who knows what. One of the things you'll need when you're doing this profile, and you have 30 days to do it, is you'll need this course ID I'm getting ready to send to you. And you can hopefully copy and paste that to a Word document or something so you have access. But ultimately, if you go, you know what, I didn't get a chance to get that course ID, can you send it to me again? I can send it to you. Like I said, we have 30 days to do this. When you do the student evaluation, you can see, okay, the class, you know, just make, you know, be truthful with how you felt about the class. And at the end of it, there's a place to check to have your certificate of completion sent to you from Autodesk. So we're an Autodesk certified training facility, an ATC site, and they can send you a certificate that's actually suitable for framing. You can put it on the wall, or you can give it to your manager, or what have you. Okay. Let me send out the afternoon test, and then we'll wrap things up. We'll go to polls and tests. Select the test at day 4. Afternoon. Did I do one this morning? I did, right? I can't keep track of time. So, and I'm going to click launch. Here it comes. Wow. Okay. I'll close that test. Nice. All right. So maybe I need to update the quiz questions, but it's not about it's not about making the test hard. That is our last topic. But don't forget, you have, where's my book? If I go back to the page 1 of the book, on the cover of the book, my name, my email address is shown here. Darren Moore. If you have questions about stuff that we covered, or even if you have questions about stuff we haven't covered, reach out to me and I'll help you as much as I can. I know I'm doing a class Thursday. It's a level 2 for General Dynamics, but I don't think either of you are on it. I don't think. You would know this, right? Are either you going to be in class on Thursday?
No.
Okay.
Gotta let all this settle in first.
No, and that's totally a smart way to go. If it looks like I recognize, I think, all of these names from last year. They took level 1 training last year. We talked about doing a level 2 class last year, and we didn't get to it. Either schedules didn't align or whatever. But it's always a good idea to use the level 1 skills and. And I've had people come like in the same week or the very next week to level 2, and they're like, why would I even do this? And it doesn't make sense if you haven't had a chance to use the software to find out why you would use some of these commands. So, well, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get together for another session another time. So with that said, questions on anything? Sean, Taylor, either one?
No, I'm good. This is great.
Awesome. Did I lose Sean again? Did I lose your audio again? Yep. Sorry, Sean. Okay. Any questions at all? Can I answer any questions for you? Awesome. Well, thanks so much, you guys. You guys have been awesome. Who knows how online training goes? This might be your first. I think, Sean, this might be your second experience, at least with us. Hopefully, it wasn't too painful, and please do come back in the future but reach out to me anytime. There's no expiration date on my email address or my phone number, so reach out to me if you ever have any questions. Thanks, you two. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. Go to PowerPoint. Where are you? Have I lost it? There it is. Stop.